Hello and welcome to today's mathematics class. We'll be discussing about the concept of logic, or you want to logical reasoning, right? So let's look at the introduction to logic in mathematics. So first is first, logic was discovered by a Greek philosophy called Aristotle, who was a pioneer of logical reasoning, right? So that's like your historical aspect of logic, right? So was discovered by a Greek philosophy called Aristotle, right? So that's by the way. So by definition, logical reasoning is referred to as the process of using logical principles and rules to arrive at a conclusion or solution for a problem. That's logic by definition, or if you want to, logical reasoning by definition. I said it can be defined, or perhaps it refers to as the process of using logical principle and rules to arrive at a conclusion or solve or solution to a problem. So that's your definition to logical reasoning. Now, in the study of logical reasoning, there are several terms you need to be familiar with. So I'll take you through this basic terminology you need to be familiar with in the study of logic. Students find logic difficult because it has some tricky parts there. So I'll take my time to break this down, to break this tricky part as much as I can. So let's look at yet another concept called the basic terminology. So let's discuss basic um, terms. Let's look at basic terminology in the study of logical reasoning. Number one, there is called proportion slash statement. Number one is called proportion slash the first terminology is called proposition, or you call it statement. So what's a proposition, or perhaps you call it a propositional statement? If you want to, in advanced form, you can call it a propositional statement. But by the way, it is called proposition, or you call it statement. Definition, please. A proposition is a collection of declarative statements that has either a true value, true, or a false value, false, but not both. So that's your definition for proportional statement, or you call it proportion or proposition, or you call it statement. Now listen up. When it comes to this first terminology, the key word there is that any statement you cannot argue over is said to be any statement you can argue over, by the way. So any statement I can argue over is said to be a proposition statement, right? For instance, if I say that ice floats in water, of course we know that ice floats in water, so that's a true value to be true. So it's true, it's clear to everyone that ice floats in water. But if I bring up that, if I say China is in Europe, for instance, people will argue that yes, so some people say no, that China is not in Europe. That statement is an argument statement. So that statement is said to be a what? A propositional statement, or perhaps proposition statement, right? Also, if I say 2 plus 2 is 5, some people say it's correct, some people say it's wrong. That statement there, surely it's a wrong statement. 2 plus 2 is not 5, it's 4. But people do argue that it's 5, some do argue that it's 4, right? So but the concept there is that any statement that you can argue over, or perhaps that you can argue over, is said to be a proposition statement. But any statement you can argue over is not a proposition statement, please. So that's your first concept in the study of logical reasoning, called proposition statement. A true value to be true, while a false value to be false, right? That's by the way. So anything that you can argue or judge over is not a propositional statement, as I said initially. So let's look at the second terminology. By the way, before I proceed with the second terminology, let me try to write out the example I mentioned initially, right? So example one I gave you was that if I number one I gave you, I said highs float in water. Number two there, 2 plus 2 equal to 4. Number three, China is in Europe. Number four, I have 2 plus 2 to be equal to 5. So number 5 here, I have so look up please. Look at this number 5. I said do your homework. For this do your homework there, I can assign either this is a true or false statement. If I ask you do your homework, that does not mean that you reply me true or false. It's not making sense. But if I ask you 2 plus 2 equals to 4, true or false, you tell me true because it's clear that 2 plus 2 is 4. But this statement here, you can't assign either true or false for this statement. So this statement here is not what a propositional statement, right? But so I just told you that any statement you can argue on is said to be that first terminology I gave you. So let's look at number two. The second terminology, number two, is called propositional variable. All right. So the second terminology in the study of logic is said to be propositional variable. So by definition, these are variable x, y, z, or PQR, or capital A, capital B, capital C, that are used to represent statement or propositional or proposition. So look up please. Here's the concept. When it comes to propositional variable, the task is that I'm using a symbol to represent a what? Propositional statement. Of course, this is a statement. China is in Europe, the statement. For me to now use a letter to identify that statement, it's said to be what there? A propositional variable. For instance, if I say, for instance, I said we can use x, y, z, or perhaps still use q, r, x. So depending on whatever I want to use there, and perhaps I can still use a, b, c. So they are just variable. They represent statements, right? For example, here, for example, if I say A represents China is in Europe. Of course, obviously, China is in Europe is just a what? A propositional statement. But this A is what? Is called propositional what? Variable. So I'm saying that a propositional variable is a symbol used for representing what? A propositional statement. So as you can see. So this anywhere I see A, I know that A represents what? China is in Europe. So that concept please. Of course I can see have B as being highs floats on water. This B signifies the variable. Why this is the statement? So this B signifies this statement. So whenever I see B, I know that B represents what? Ice float on water. So all these A, B, C are variables used for representing what there? A proposition statement or propositional statement. So any variable used to represent a statement is said to be a propositional variable, right? So that's how this second terminology works. So that's your first terminology. Second, let's look at the third one there, called propositional logic. Logic. So the third terminology is called propositional logic. Definition: this is concerned with statements to which the true value, true and false, can be assigned to. So anything that is true can be assigned to, or anything that is false can be assigned to, is said to be propositional logic. That's by the way. So that's the third terminology. I will explain this one further when we go into the concept of truth table. I will explain this one as fast as I can. So let's look at the final terminology called connective. Number 4 is called connective. All right. The fourth terminology in the study of logical reasoning is called connective. All right. Let's define connective. The connective connects the proportional variable in proportional logic general. So the concept there is that when it comes to connective helps to connect a proportional variable, that is A and B, for instance, with what? A proportional logic. By the way, a proportional logic there has to do with a true value true and a false value being false, right? So that's your connective. So the ability of you connecting this third terminology and the second terminology together is said to be what? Connective. A connective is in the process of connecting propositional logic with what? The propositional variable, right? That's your definition for this one here. When it comes to connective there are 5 connective you need to familiar with this. There are 5 connective symbols you need to familiar with this. So bear in place, 5 connective symbols, 5 connective symbols and their meaning. So 5 connective figures, symbols per se, symbols and their meaning. So number 1 there, the first connective symbol that we have here is this. It looks like V, or you can use something of this nature. This a parabolic in nature. So like this one here means or. This symbol here means or. Number 2, I have something like look like A, or you can use something of this nature. This one signifies hand, and as you can see, the third one is called negate. Okay, it's called negation. So let me draw the symbol first. This symbol here, or this, signifies negation. All right. Number 4 there, this symbol here signifies implication. This signifies implication. And what does this arrow means? It means if, comma, then. So anyway, this arrow signifies if, comma, then. This symbol signifies negation. This symbol here signifies and, this signifies or, and the final one there is called, this is implication. The final one is called by implication, which is something of this nature. This and this is called by implication. So please, which means if and only, if and only if. So this one means, this symbol here means if and only if. This one means if, comma, then. This one means what? Negation. This one means and, while this one means or. So you need to be familiar with these symbols as I've written down. So very important. Or, and, navigation, if, comma, then, if and only if. These symbols are important, right, in the study of logic. All right, having said all this, let's now take few questions and solve together and see how possibly we can use all these symbols and all what we have said solve problems. So, all right, let's take example. Example. Welcome back. Let's solve. Let's take an example and let's see how we can solve this problem. It says that let proposition A be it is raining and B the ground is wet. Write out the verbal meaning of the following. So write out the verbal meaning of the following here. So in that question there, they gave me that let proposition A to be what? It rain, perhaps. Okay, it is raining. It is raining. It is raining. And they gave me B to be what? The ground is wet. The ground is wet. And I'm told to what? Write out the verbal meaning of this following. So it's easy. So first is first, solution. Number one there, for A, I have A, then a symbol like V, and then B. This symbol, what does it signify? It signifies what? Or, as we said, or, right? Or. So this means that A is what? It is raining. So becomes it is raining, right? It is raining, or this symbol means or. B is what? The ground is wet, or the ground is wet. Is wet. That's the verbal meaning of this one here. For B, I have this B here. B, what I have there is A and a symbol that look like this, and then B. This symbol here is called what? It's called and. As we said here, it's called and. So in general form, or perhaps in verbal meaning, this becomes what's A? It is raining. So it's called it is raining. This symbol is and. So it becomes it is raining and the ground is wet. So how it is raining, right? That's for A. This symbol signifies and. B means the ground is wet. So how the ground is wet. All right. So let's I solve this. Let's do C. So let's do C. Let's do C. For C, look up please. For C, what I have there is A, and I have a symbol that looks like an arrow, and I have B this way. This means if, comma, then, as we said. It means what? If, comma, then. So it means that this if, comma, then means for the first statement, I'll start with if. So it becomes if it is raining, then comma, then the ground is wet. No, I write it. So for A means what? It is raining. But I'll start with this if, right? This symbol signifies if, comma, then, right? So in writing form, what is A? A is what? So in its verbal meaning, this in its verbal meaning becomes it is raining. This statement is for A, but I have if, comma, then. Start with if. So put an if here. Becomes if it is raining, then say comma. So you now put then, THEN. Then what's B? B is the ground is wet. So then the ground is wet. Is wet. That's the meaning for this one, right? Let's do D. For D, what I have there, I have this A, then this signifies by implication, as you can see, and it means what? If and only if. So how do I write this one? It becomes it is raining. Will it be it is raining if and only if the ground is wet? Of course, that's the correct form, right? So that's the correct form, right? So let me just drop off this part here. So we said this symbol here signifies if and only if. So what A? A is what? It is raining. So I have the verbal meaning for this becomes it is raining. This symbol signifies if and only if. B signifies the ground is wet. So the ground is wet. So that's the verbal meaning of this symbol. And finally, let's do the E. For E, I have this is what's it called? It's called negation. It's called negation of A, this symbol, and B. Initially, we have solved this. This one means what? It means it is raining and the ground is wet. That's meaning of this. This one, whenever you have this symbol, let's say something is true and you're having this symbol will change that into false. If you're having false, if you have the symbol, change that into true. So the opposite of that thing, because this symbol signifies the opposite of something. If this one is saying that it is raining and the ground is wet, so because what? For this negation becomes what? It is not raining and the ground is not wet. So this one, it is raining and the ground is wet. This one because what? It is not raining and the ground is not wet. So becomes what? This environment means it is not raining, or in better form, you write it as it is false that it is raining and the ground is wet. It is false that it is raining and the ground is wet. All right, so This statement means it is false that it is raining and the ground is wet, or you write it as it is not raining and the ground is not wet. So that, but in a good constructed form, this is better, right? So it can be written as it is not raining and the ground is not wet, this statement, or it is false that it is raining and the ground is wet. So these are solve problems of this nature, right? So I will give you an assignment. As you can see in the screen, I'll do an assignment. So try this assignment and leave your answer in the comments. So see you in the next class, and welcome to Excellent Link Academy. Next class, we'll look at the concept of truth table. So we'll look at truth table, and then we'll proceed from there to other concepts in the study of logic. All right. See you in our next class.